Can you believe it? God has used our president, Trump?
It really sped up and came right into their face and filled up the entire windshield of the car. And it took off at a right angle and shot off into the distance.
The New York Times says the program was launched 10 years ago at the request of a former and senior Democratic Senator Harry Reid. The Pentagon has confirmed that the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program ended in 2012, but is it continuing under another guise within the vast universe of the U.S. defense establishment?
Just this intense boom, it shook our house. My husband ran inside to check on.
The odd thing is that, so far we've learned what it was not, but we have not discovered what it actually was just yet.
What is that? Aliens? I don't know. What is that? You see it, right?
I'm actually, yes,
okay.
I do see it.
Okay.
It's getting weirder by the second.
I know.
It's like they're sticking around.
We're gonna do some digging and figure out what that is.
I saw this illumination that was moving with respect to the stars. We were smart enough to not say, Houston, there's a light out there that's following us.
So just because there is an official narrative released and broadcast to us from this network all around us, don't act like we're too stupid. We know the official narrative. Here, we want to talk about things that go beyond. We want to think outside of the box. We want to talk about things that go beyond the press release. So the things I want to point out here, one of them are these orbs, these plasma type orbs that were seen from all sides. This was taped on all sides. So this just shows one. You'll see it going up right here through here. But there were objects reported all around it.
But on this canyon road just outside Las Vegas, Robert Bigelow's story takes a turn that some may find, to put it lightly, improbable. He told us this is where his grandparents had a close encounter with a UFO.
Admiral Byrd made a lot of unusual statements, including talking about what he called a new kind of craft that could fly from pole to pole.
That story sparked his obsession and explains the alien looking out from the side of Bigelow Aerospace. It made for the kind of conversation you don't ordinarily have with an accomplished CEO.
We heard the boom, and the house shook. And I went outside, thought somebody hit the house.
Shane Fusilier says the noise reminded him of the powerful sonic booms he heard growing up in Louisiana. We found this sonic boom online. We wanted to give you an idea.
The purpose of the program, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, was really designed to do just that. From a national security perspective, identify those things that we see, whether we see them electro-optically, we see them with radar, we see them as eyewitness reports, through a myriad of different ways and avenues that we receive the information, and try to ascertain and determine if that information is a potential threat to national security.
You could feel it in your body. It wasn't just external things. You felt it to the core.
We reached out to the city of Cape Coral, which said it didn't know what it was. Even the police department wasn't sure.
I have no doubt that extraterrestrials could very well have populated or made structures on the far side of the moon.
So technically, it becomes an unidentified flying object.
It's 6 o'clock, and here's what's happening. A mysterious boom shakes homes and rattles nerves.
You see it there, kind of that strange shape from beyond the solar system. What do you see when you look at that?
Well, you know, Ms. Burnett, I have to admit to you, when I ran this program, I was fundamentally looking at, my colleagues looking at two things.
Yeah.
What is it and how does it work? we have deliberately stayed away from going down the rabbit hole of who's behind the wheel and what are their intentions.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have a lot of feelings towards that and are very emotional about that. And what I wanted to do is to allow the data to speak for itself and then use that data to inform leadership, senior DoD leadership, about the potential threat that these type of technologies pose to national security, especially over any type of controlled airspace that we might have. So I'm not trying to be evasive in any way or vague with your answer, but
yeah. Well,
I think there's a lot of possibilities.
Look,
I think there's a lot of possibilities.
Look, does this have the ring of truth to you?
Yes, absolutely. This program definitely took place. In one sense, it's not surprising that the US government was investigating UFOs. The real story, I think, is the fact that they had denied it so vehemently for so many years.
Had denied it so vehemently for so many years.
These startling photographs, recently discovered in NASA's official archive, were taken by the Apollo astronauts themselves. The gigantic artificial-looking structures they document, which have never been shown on television before, seem to defy simple scientific explanation.
Things that don't have any obvious flight surfaces, any obvious forms of propulsion, and maneuvering in ways that include extreme maneuverability beyond, I would submit, the healthy G-forces of a human or anything biological, hypersonic velocities, low observability, positive lift, again, seemingly in defying the laws of aerodynamics.
You imagine that in our space travels we will encounter other forms of intelligent life?
You don't have to go anywhere.
You can find it here.
Yeah.
Where exactly?
It's just like right under people's noses. Oh my gosh. Wow.
He told us he's had his own close encounters, but declined to go into detail.
What do you think? Is the government hiding it from us? Obviously.
Obviously.
He later went on in this clip to explain how apparently NASA, the people that work there, have been warning their family and their friends, but it's been like on secret message boards.
Been warning their family and their friends, but it's been like on secret message boards.
It's rumored that when Admiral Byrd's task force actually got to Antarctica, that one of the first things they discovered was an entrance into a hollow Earth civilization that was populated by very, very advanced beings.
on earth was that noise? That is the question a whole lot of people are asking.
The other thing that is inside this lunar module looks like a woman, and this is the alien that they recovered from the ship. There was a study done by the Brookings Institute in the early 1960s, so before NASA went to the moon. There was sort of this idea that if we were to have any kind of interaction with alien life form or intelligence, that maybe we should tell the public because the public might not be able to handle it.
The U.S. Defense Department has acknowledged running a secret multi-million-dollar program to investigate unidentified flying objects, or UFOs.
Out of a lot of stuff that seemed to not belong on the moon.
And it has very distinct features of a satellite dish. It's got the dish itself, the crater shape. It's got a long spike that appears to come out in the middle. All sorts of stuff that looks exactly like a satellite dish on Earth would.
Says he experienced sounds and concussions from a variety of explosions while serving in the military. He said this one here didn't sound or feel like it came from the ground.
It just kind of scared me a little bit.
It's kind of scary, kind of concerning that they can't figure it out, because that was a pretty loud bang, being that it shook the whole town.
Line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art.
Yes.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, look, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Area 51.
Yeah, that's right. Were you an employee or are you now?
A former employee.
Former employee.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They're gonna they'll triangulate on this position really. Okay, what we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra dimensional beings.
Radio. Turn it.
The space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now, Art.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
You imagine that in our space travels we will encounter other forms of intelligent life?
You don't have to go anywhere.
You can find it here.
Yeah.
Where exactly?
It's just like right under people's noses. Oh my gosh. Wow.
It's just like right under people's noses. Oh my gosh. Wow.
That's the final sign.
So what did you find?
Well, we found a lot. I think what's important is that we have identified some very, very interesting, anomalous type of aircraft. Let's call them aircraft.
Wow. Wow, amazing.
While Neil and Buzz were on the lunar surface, Neil switched to the medical channel and spoke directly with the chief medical officer, saying, they're here, they're parked on the side of the crater, they're watching us.
Tengo dos, por eso. Una luz bengala bien rara, Ahí, eso está muy raro. Nos visitan. Esto es exclusiva para cualquiera que quiera ver esto. Una luz totalmente.
It just buzzed away. They didn't know what it was.
Of course.
We still don't know. It's a mystery.
We still don't know.
But hold on.
And I'm cool with that.
But hold on. And I'm cool with that.
Okay, that's where we differ.
¿Sí lo ves? Mira, aquí tengo un poquito. Trabajando. ¿Sí lo ves?
and fell on top of the roof.
Somebody
and
hit the back of the building.
Yeah.
Remember? Like somebody crashed.
Thought that a crane or something like that had just dropped something onto the beach.
More than a dozen people in Cape May County called 911, but there was no reported incident to investigate.
Book of Giants, composed in Aramaic, is dated with certainty to at least the 2nd century BC, if not much earlier. The content of the manuscript, though severely fragmented, expounds on the narrative of the Book of Enoch concerning the fall of the angelic watchers, their malevolent hybrid offspring, and the great flood that ensued as a result.
The aliens are so fascinated with human reproduction, especially abductions, especially extraction, the female egg. The whole realm of human sexuality seems to be the breeding grounds for aliens.
Helen would later state that they were brought onto an alien craft for experiments and had eggs removed from their bodies via an invasive tube stuck into their skin.
The Book of Giants describes in detail how the fallen angels insidiously corrupted the genetics of all flesh on the earth. It tells us specifically 200 rams of the flock, 200 goats, 200 beasts of the field, from every animal, from every bird, were selected for miscegenation. The word miscegenation refers to the mixing of races or species, particularly in the context of sexual intercourse. They defiled, They begot giants and monsters. They begot, and behold, all the earth was corrupted.
And the legends, as I've stated before, of Atlantis, Hyperborea, Ultima Thule, every single legend, you can't escape the idea that the gods came to Earth, mated with Earth women, and produced a hybrid race of beings. And what becomes even more pronounced is that now genetic engineering and genetic alteration using CRISPR technology, using gene splicing, using stem cells as basically your basis for building whatever you want, the hybridization, the cross-species transgenic movement, growing quote-unquote human organs in animals such as pigs or other animals. You're going to see and hear and experience technology you've never even imagined exists on this planet. You're going to be razzled and dazzled. You're going to be presented with strange signs and wonders in the sky. You're going to see three-dimensional holographic images take physicality. You're going to see demons, and I'm talking literal evil spirits manifesting along with monsters.
Believe it or not, American scientists have genetically modified 50 cows to be part human. They found a way of inserting human DNA into cow eggs, and so a human-cow hybrid is created. People are divided on whether these experiments are...
Genetic engineers, transhumanists, working for the globalists, who in their own words admit, going back to the 70s, that they had a plan to patent every major food crop and then every major life form, prolific life form on this planet, and put artificial genes, genetics, DNA, RNA into them to manipulate viruses, bacteria. And now that's been done with tens of thousands of species. In some cases, hundreds of different species are being spliced together. You know about spider goats that are part goat, part spider that produce body armor in their milk. You've read about the super salmon that university studies have shown will extinct the normal salmon that are in the ocean. And these salmon, different varieties have been mixed with other fish, insects, plants, the list goes on and on.
Hermann Oberth, who pioneered rocket design for the German Reich, the Third Reich during World War II, and later advanced rocket technology for the American planned space launches, cryptically stated, "We cannot take credit for our record advancement in certain scientific fields alone. We have been helped." When asked by whom, he replied, "The people of other worlds, the entities from other dimensions." It's about ancient technology, ancient weapons, and controlling ancient DNA.
the continuing battle around the outskirts of Damascus as government forces try to recapture the Syrian suburb. This footage shows rockets being launched from an aircraft and crashing into buildings below. Shows the moment of impact as a rocket explodes into nearby buildings. The video has been sourced from social media websites and cannot be independently verified. The United Nations says 60,000 people have been killed in Syria's 22-month conflict.
A massive crack in the ground that's estimated to be up to 50 feet deep has opened up in Kenya seemingly overnight. The crack stretches along Kenya's Great Rift Valley, and many scientists believe it could end up splitting the continent.
banks, more than 20 feet above.
The search for life beyond this solar system is getting a big boost tonight. NASA scientists say they have found 7 Earth-sized planets orbiting a nearby star, and some of them could possibly contain life.
This is huge news in the search for extraterrestrial life. These astronomers, they haven't just found a new planet, they found an entirely new solar system.
The oft-contested designation of Pluto as the 9th planet is back in the news again today. The California Institute of Technology published a study claiming they have discovered a true 9th planet beyond Pluto.
A true 9th planet beyond Pluto.
You know, we've spoken a few end of the world theories on the show before, especially when everyone thought that the rapture was coming.
Okay, look at the Earth distance, 1.812. Helios right now getting nearer to us by 300,000 miles per day. In about a week, that number is going to be 400,000 miles per day, and it's going to continue to increase. You're going to see more and more volcanoes going off. That's your sign to wake people up. You have 33 volcanoes erupting right now in the Earth, and that number is going to continue to go up as we move along in the timeline.
Which is apparently like 300 miles away, excuse me.
No, I think it's 300, I think it's like 3 million miles away.
Okay, 3 million miles.
Definitely million.
Right, definitely, it's not 300 miles away, that would be a little but it's somewhere out there. By late August, we're supposed to be able to see it as like a fuzzy star in the sky that has a little tail.
What the? You gotta check that out, man. Look at that red light in the sky, man. Check that out. I gotta come down under the trees, man. That's normal.
What do you think? Is the government hiding it from us?
Obviously. If you knew something like that, would you tell everyone? No. You'd have a bunker for yourself and keep it for yourself.
No. You'd have a bunker for yourself and keep it for yourself.
Water, everything they need. It's an underground city.
He later went on in this clip to explain how apparently NASA, the people that work there, have been warning their family and their friends, but it's been like on secret message boards.
NASA, the people that work there have been warning their family and their friends, but it's been like on secret message boards.
have come across something that they believe to be evidence of a very, very, very large planet, and by that, it's something like 5 to 10 times the size of Earth. Now, they are using data about how other objects as far out as Pluto are reacting and moving out of alignment, getting out of its way. So
how other objects as far out as Pluto are reacting and moving out of alignment, getting out of its way. So
space rocks are moving out of the way, as well as it's causing misaligned positions among the outer planets. The orbit of other celestial bodies seem to be responding to something. For now, we can pretty much leave all of the textbooks alone.
The Rhodesian nationalist leader, Bishop Abel Muzorewa, has accepted Mr. Smith's offer to negotiate an internal settlement based on one man, one vote. But, he says, there are conditions. These include stopping the execution of all captured prisoners of war, allowing European negotiations, being arrested. In Australia, Mr. Kerry Packer's cricketers are still pleading for yesterday's High Court decision, which lifted the ban on them playing in Test matches.
This is the voice of Allah, representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command, speaking to you. For many years you have seen us as lights in the skies. We speak to you now to say the same as we have done to your brothers and sisters all over this, your planet Earth. We come to warn you of the destiny of your race and your world, so that you may communicate to your fellow beings the course you must take to avoid the disaster which threatens your world and the beings on other worlds around you. This is in order that you may share in great awakening as the planet passes into a new age of Aquarius. The new age will be a time of great peace and evolution for your race, but only your rulers are made aware of the forces that can overshadow their judgments. Be still now, and listen, for your chance may not come again. All your weapons of evil must be removed. The time for conflict is now past, and the race of which you are a part may proceed to the higher stages of its evolution, if you show yourselves worthy to do this. You have but a short time to learn to live together in peace and goodwill, so over the planet are learning this, and exist to pass on the light of the dawning new age to you all. You are free to accept the executive teachings of those who learn to live.
Many go as wide as this, then they run out.
Here now, the voice of Ramon, representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command, speaking to you also. There are many force, habits, and guides that was operating on your own. They will suck your energy from you, the energy you call money, and will put it to evil areas, giving you worthless costs in return. Dr. Divine himself will protect you from this. You must be totally sensitive to the voice within you that can tell you what is true and what is learn to listen to the voice of truth. It's such a thing. This is I really appreciate that we can't. I insist on so delicious, full of only really choice ingredients. I can cats have 9 lives. Have no fear. Keep on knowing yourself and discover the ways of your planet. When the Ashtar Galactic Command takes attention, we are leaving days of your existence. May you be blessed by the supreme love and truth of the gods.
You point blank the question, do you believe that life from somewhere else, while you ran this program, came here, visited, observed?
My personal belief is that there is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone, whatever that means.
Do you believe in aliens?
I'm absolutely convinced that's all there is to it.
Do you also believe that UFOs have come to Earth?
There has been and is an existing presence, an ET presence.
You don't worry that some people will say, did you hear that guy? He sounds like he's crazy.
I don't care.
Why not?
It's not going to make a difference. It's not going to change reality of what I know. And I spent millions and millions. I probably spent more as an individual than anybody else in the United States has ever spent on this subject.
It's risky for you to say, you know, in public that you believe in UFOs and aliens.
I don't care.
And some are calling this the Star of Bethlehem
Hi, I'm Jim Green, Director of Planetary Science at NASA. Last July 14th, NASA's New Horizons spacecraft flew past Pluto, capping a half-century of exploration of our solar system. It piqued our interest about what lies beyond Pluto and what can we learn about ourselves and the origins of our solar system. The idea of a new planet is certainly an exciting one for me as a planetary scientist, and I think for all of us. The January 20th paper in the Astronomical Journal is fueling our interest in planetary exploration and stimulating a healthy debate that's part of the scientific process. I couldn't be more pleased about what's happening. You know, it's all about starting the process that could lead to an exciting result. It is not, however, the detection of a new planet. It's too early to say with certainty that there's a so-called Planet X out there. What we're really seeing is an early prediction based on modeling from limited observations. What's exciting is that, like NASA's journey to Mars or New Horizons flyby of Pluto, you will have a front row seat to see how the scientific process unfolds. Theories like this serve to stimulate ideas and conversation. They tap into our innate curiosity. It's important for us to continue to work, and we will. Anytime we have an interesting idea like this, we always apply Carl Sagan's rules for critical thinking, which include independent confirmation of the facts, looking for alternate explanations, and encouraging scientific debate. If Planet X is out there, we'll find it together. Or we'll determine an alternate explanation for the data that we've received so far. Or we'll determine an alternate explanation for the data that we've received so far.
Fact that Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd was a well-respected member of society and highly decorated member of the U.S. Navy. The following is a reading of the official transcripts of Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd's flight logs recording during and shortly after his pioneering journey deep into the unknown regions of the Arctic North Pole on the 19th of February 1947. 0815 hours. Radio check with base camp, situation normal. 0830 hours. Turbulence encountered again. Increase altitude to 2,900 feet. Smooth flight conditions again. 0910 hours. Vast ice and snow below. Note coloration of a yellowish nature and disperse in a linear pattern. Altering course for better examination of this color pattern below. Note reddish or purple color also. Circle this area 2 full turns and return to assigned compass heading. Position check made again to base camp and relay information concerning colorations in the ice and snow below. 0910 hours. Both magnetic and gyro compasses beginning to gyrate and wobble. We are unable to hold our heading by instrumentation. Take bearing with sun compass, yet all seems well. The controls are seemingly slow to respond and have sluggish quality, but there is no indication of icing. 0915 hours. In the distance is what appears to be mountains. 0949 hours. 29 minutes elapsed flight time from the first sighting of the mountains. It is no illusion. They are mountains and are consisting of a small range that I have never seen before. 0955 hours. Altitude change to 2,950 feet, encountering strong turbulence again. 1000 hours. We are crossing over the small mountain range and still proceeding northward as best as can be ascertained. Beyond the mountain range is what appears to be a valley with a small river or stream running through the center portion. There should be no green valley below. Something is definitely wrong and abnormal here. we should be over ice and snow. To the port side are great forests growing on the mountain slopes. Our navigation instruments are still spinning. The gyroscope is oscillating back and forth. 10:05 hours. I alter altitude to 1,400 feet and execute a sharp turn to better examine the valley below. It is green with either moss or a type of knit grass. The light here seems different. I cannot see the sun anymore. We make another left turn and we spot what seems to be a large animal of some kind below us. It appears to be an elephant. No, it looks more like a mammoth. This is incredible. Yet there it is. Decrease altitude to 1,000 feet and take binoculars to better examine the animal. It is confirmed. It is definitely a mammoth-like animal. Report this to base camp. 10:30 hours. Encountering more rolling green hills now. The external temperature indicator reads 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Continuing on our heading now. Navigation instruments seem normal now. I am puzzled over their actions. Attempting to contact base camp. Radio is not functioning. 11:30 hours. Countryside below is more level and normal, if I may use that word. Ahead we spot what seems to be a city. This is impossible. Aircraft seems light and oddly buoyant. The controls refuse to respond. My God. Off our port and starboard wings are a strange type of aircraft. They are closing rapidly alongside. They are dish-shaped and have a radiant quality to them. They are close enough now to see the markings on them. It's a type of swastika. This is fantastic. Where are we? What has happened? I tug at the controls again. They will not respond. We are caught in an invisible vice grip of some type. 11:35 hours. Our radio crackles and a voice comes through in English with what is perhaps a slight Nordic or Germanic accent. The message is, "Welcome, Admiral, to our domain. We shall land you in exactly 7 minutes. Relax, Admiral, you are in good hands." I note the engines of our plane have stopped running. The aircraft is under some strange control and is now turning itself. The controls are useless. 11:40 hours. Another radio message received. We begin the landing process now, and in moments the plane shudders slightly and begins a descent as though caught in some great unseen elevator. The downward motion is negligible, and we touch down with only a slight jolt. 11:45 hours. I am making a hasty last entry in the flight log. Several men are approaching on foot toward our aircraft. They are tall with blonde hair. In the distance is a large shimmering city pulsating with rainbow hues of color. I do not know what is going to happen now, but I see no signs of weapons on those approaching. I hear now a voice ordering me by name to open the cargo door. I comply. End log. From this point, I write all the following events here from memory. It defies the imagination. It would seem all but madness if it had not happened. The radio man and I are taken from the aircraft and we are received in a most cordial manner. We were then boarded on a small platform-like conveyance with no wheels. It moves us toward the glowing city with great swiftness. As we approach, the city seems to be made of a crystal material. Soon we arrive at a large building that is a type I have never seen before. It appears to be right out of the design board of Frank Lloyd Wright, or perhaps more correctly, out of a Buck Rogers setting. We are given some type of warm beverage, which tasted like nothing I have ever savored before. It is delicious. After about 10 minutes, 2 of our wondrous appearing hosts come to our quarters and announce that I am to accompany them. I have no choice but to comply. I leave my radio man behind and we walk a short distance and enter into what seems to be an elevator. We descend downward for some moments. The machine stops and the door lifts suddenly upward. We then proceed down a long hallway that is lit by a rose-colored light that seems to be emanating from the very walls themselves. One of the beings motions for us to stop before a great door. Over the door is an inscription that I cannot read. The great door slides noiselessly open and I am beckoned to enter. One of my my host speaks. Have no fear, Admiral. You are to have an audience with the Master. I step inside and my eyes adjust to the beautiful coloration that seems to be filling the room completely. Then I begin to see my surroundings. What greeted my eyes is the most beautiful sight of an entire existence. It is in fact too beautiful and wondrous to describe. It is exquisite and delicate. I do not think there exists a human term that can describe it in any detail with justice. My thoughts are interrupted in a cordial manner by a warm, rich voice of melodious quality. I bid you welcome to our domain, Admiral. I see a man with delicate features and with the etching of years upon his face. He is seated at a long table. He motions me to sit down in one of the chairs. After I am seated, he places his fingertips together and smiles. He speaks softly again and conveys the following. We have let you enter here because you are of noble character and well known on the surface world, Admiral. Surface world, I half gasped under my breath. Yes, the Master replies with a smile. You are in the domain of the Ariani, the inner world of Earth. We shall not long delay your mission, and you will be safely escorted back to the surface and for a distance beyond. But now, Admiral, I shall tell you why you have been summoned here. Our interest rightly begins just after your race exploded the first atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. It was at that alarming time we sent our flying machines, the Flugelrads, to your surface world to investigate what your race had done. That is of course past history now, my dear Admiral, but I must continue on. You see, we have never interfered before in your race's wars and barbarity, but now we must, for you have learned to tamper with a certain power that is not for man, namely, that of atomic energy. Our emissaries have already delivered messages to the powers of your world, and yet they do not heed. Now you have been chosen to be witness here that our world does exist. You see, our culture and science is many thousands of years beyond your race, Admiral. I interrupted. But what does this have to do with me, sir? The Master's eyes seemed to penetrate deeply into my mind, and after studying me for a few moments, he replied, Your race has reached the point of no return, for there are those among you who would destroy your very world rather than relinquish their power as they know it. I nodded, and the Master continued. In 1945 and afterward, we tried to contact your race, but our efforts were met with hostility, and our Flugelrads were fired upon. Yes, even pursued with malice and animosity by your fighter planes. So now, I say to you, my son, there is a great storm gathering in your world, a black fury that will not spend itself for many years. There will be no answer in your arms. There will be no safety in your science. It may rage on until every flower of your culture is trampled, and all human things are leveled in vast chaos. Your recent war was only a prelude of what is yet to come for your race. We here see it more clearly with each hour. Do you say I am mistaken? No, I answer. It happened once before. The Dark Ages came and they lasted for more than 500 years. Yes, my son, replied the Master. The Dark Ages that will come now for your race will cover the earth like a pall, but I believe that some of your race will live through the storm. Beyond that, I cannot say. We see at a great distance a new world stirring from the ruins of your race, seeking its lost and legendary treasures, and they will be here, my son, safe in our keeping. When that time arrives, we shall come forward again to help you revive your culture and your race. Perhaps by then, you will have learned the futility of war and its strife, and after that time, certain of your culture and science will be returned for your race to begin anew. You, my son, are to return to the surface world with this message. With these closing words, our meeting seemed at an end. I stood for a moment as in a dream, but yet I knew this was reality, and for some strange reason, I bowed slightly, either out of respect or humility, I do not know which. Suddenly, I was again aware that the two beautiful hosts who had brought me here were again at my side. This way, Admiral, mentioned one. I turned once more before leaving and looked back toward the Master. gentle smile was etched on his delicate and ancient face. "Farewell, my son," he spoke. Then he gestured with a lovely, slender hand, a motion of peace, and our meeting was truly ended. Quickly, we walked back through the great door of the master's chamber and once again entered into the elevator. The door slid silently downward, and we were once again going upward. One of my hosts spoke again. "We must now make haste, Admiral, as the master desires to delay you no longer on your scheduled timetable, and you must return with his message to your race." I said nothing. All of this was almost beyond belief, and once again my thoughts were interrupted as we stopped. I entered the room and was again with my radio man. He had an anxious expression on his face. As I approached, I said, "It is all right, Howie. It is all right." The two beings motioned us toward the awaiting conveyance. We boarded and soon arrived back at the aircraft. The engines were idling and we boarded immediately. The whole atmosphere seemed charged now with a certain air of urgency. After the cargo door was closed, the aircraft was immediately lifted by that unseen force until we reached an altitude of 2,700 feet. Two of the aircraft were alongside for some distance, guiding us on our return way. I must state here, the airspeed indicator registered no reading, yet we were moving along at a very rapid rate. Entry flight log continues. 0215 hours. A radio message comes through. "We are leaving you now, Admiral. Your controls are free. Auf Wiedersehen." We watched for a moment as the Flugelrads disappeared into the pale blue sky. The aircraft suddenly felt as though caught in a sharp downdraft for a moment. We quickly recovered her control. We do not speak for some time. Each man has his thoughts.